Parque Diversiones is Costa Rica's signature amusement park. It's actually their only amusement park. It's located right in the heart of the country in San Jose, just 15 minutes away from the international airport. This makes it super accessible if you're visiting the country, and you honestly won't need a ton of time here. There's a lot of cool things to do in Costa Rica. I recommend prioritizing those, but if you're going to be doing some sightseeing around the city, you could absolutely stop in here for a couple hours and get your amusement park fixed. They're home to 5 roller coasters, and none of them are anything crazy. I mean, the real advantage to visiting this place is that the atmosphere is very fun. I wish they had better roller coasters. That's honestly my biggest downside with this place. They're home to a Vekoma whirlwind called Boca. Some of you guys might be familiar with this attraction because it actually used to operate at Knoebels, and before that, Playland Park in Long Island. They also have a Vekoma boomerang that was relocated from Sao Paulo, Brazil. There's a Zamperla Wild Mouse and also 2 children's coasters. So yeah, not exactly a lot. But I still had a really good time here. It's because this park is so well taken care of. First of all, location-wise, it is beautiful. It is surrounded by mountains on all sides, and it really captures that Costa Rican feel of an amusement park. And for those curious, diversiones literally means amusements. It comes from the word divertirse, which means to have fun. So Parque Diversiones literally translates to amusement park. So yeah, real creative on their end. There's palm trees everywhere, beautiful architecture, and cheap admission. It's like the equivalent of $4 to get in. But that doesn't include the rides. What you can do is you can pay per ride, or you can get a wristband that includes all of the attractions, which is what we did. I think the total was around maybe $20. It wasn't expensive. That's because this park is actually not for profit. They use the revenue to pay for the employees, basic upkeep of the place, and every once in a while invest in some sort of new attraction, but for the most part, all that extra revenue instead goes to a children's hospital, which alone is really cool. I've actually never heard of another amusement park doing something like that. So let's kind of walk through the experience of going here. The park in terms of land was actually bigger than I was initially expecting. They actually have a pretty solid collection of attractions. You walk in and you agree with this very cute, charming little plaza. The first coaster you're going to get to is Boca. That's that yellow corkscrew up front. It's themed to a very venomous viper that you can find in Costa Rica. We were there on a weekend, but the park wasn't very busy and they wouldn't dispatch the ride until the train was mostly full, and that was also the same with the boomerang. But there weren't any lines when we visited with the exception of the Wild Mouse. Everything else was a walk-on. Something else to note with this attraction, they didn't allow bags in the queue or on the ride platform, but for some reason they allowed it at all of the other attractions, which I thought was a little strange. If you're interested in putting anything in a locker, the only ones in the park are available up at the front. I think if they're going to have that policy at the Wild Mouse and Corkscrew, then they should have some lockers right outside the entrance. So I think they either need to add those or reconsider that policy, change it so you can leave your bags on all of the ride platforms. But anyways, as you're walking through the park, you'll notice a lot of different things. One, first off, is beautiful landscaping. I especially want to shout out the Pueblo Antigua area. This literally translates to Old Town, and it was by far my favorite area of the park. There's this plain out front, you'll see fountains, big palm trees, there's a church, and even a real train right in that area for you to see. I've also been told that sometimes they'll have dancers and musicians entertaining people when the park is really busy. We didn't see any, but I can imagine this place would be really lively during maybe the summer. I thought it was so charming, and that really carries through the entire park. I mean, they have these very odd theming structures throughout, and it's half the reason why I love visiting international theme parks, because it's just so weird to me. You'll just find seemingly random statues scattered throughout. It's just a weird mishmash of everything. A couple of them will be for maybe a specific ride. Others will just be theming for a certain section. It's just very quirky, and I loved it. It was honestly one of my favorite parts of Parque Diversiones. Another thing I loved is the audio. They had great music here, in particular because they had their own theme song. Right as you're entering the park, it's Parque Diversiones, and then as you get to specific rides, they'll have their own specific music. For the boomerang, they're playing a rock song. The water ride is playing this calypso-like music. It was really cool, and that water ride too was very popular. That was honestly the longest line that we saw in the park. I can imagine when it's really hot here, people wait hours to ride that thing. The theme of that ride is meant to pay homage to the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. I mean, all the theming here is very loose, so I wouldn't say it's like incredible. I mean, when you get to the boomerang, it's literally themed to boomerangs. Funny enough, probably the only boomerang I've ridden where they actually have boomerangs scattered throughout the queue. But I loved it, you know? It just needs a good paint job, honestly. One area that I loved walking through was their kids section. The entire area was themed to fruit and like food. Everything from the rides to the benches to the play structures all looked like different things you would eat. It's awesome. And that kid's coaster is also totally a meme. Look at the face right on the front of that thing. Doesn't make any sense. Also, it goes through a tunnel, so that was kind of cool. The last coaster I'll mention is their kids coaster called Montana Ghibli. It's themed to this worm, and adults cannot ride it because it has a maximum height requirement, so none of us were able to get on it. But it was just super funny to watch because of how small it was, and it had an incredible control panel. Probably the best control panel I've ever seen for a ride. The detail on it is insane. A few of the other attractions I'll mention, they have a disco themed to aliens. They have 2 water slides that are named after actual rivers that people like to go rafting on in Costa Rica. They have an awesome Fabry drop tower, which translates to the watchtower. It holds you up there for like a minute, and it has a really forceful drop. It's very similar to if you've done Detonator at Thorpe Park, but in my opinion, this one has a much prettier view because this one you're looking at the mountains. And the last thing I'll mention is they also have a haunted house that operates seasonally. We did not get to experience it, but it opens about partway through the summer and has a different theme every single year, and from what I've heard, it's actually pretty intense. And then there's typically a water effect that ends in you getting drenched in foam, which just sounds super weird. I wish we could have done it. So definitely a lot of cookie cutter style attractions, but I like the way that they are all presented. Everything just looks really nice, and the park was in pristine condition. I mean, there wasn't trash anywhere. You could absolutely tell it was well taken care of. Now, this is the part of the video when I normally talk about the food here, but I actually did not get the chance to try anything in the park because we were here for such a limited amount of time. We decided to prioritize the rides and what to get on instead of trying some of the food here. But just from walking around, it did look like they had a rather large dining hall that served a pretty big variety of options, and there are plenty of stands scattered throughout. And if the food here tastes anything like the rest of the food in Costa Rica, I'm sure it's amazing. But if you choose not to eat in the park, there are a number of restaurants nearby, so you wouldn't have to go very far for it. So do I recommend this place? Absolutely. Again, I just wish they had better roller coasters. Imagine if this place got a decent sized thrill ride. It doesn't even have to be an original attraction. It could literally be a clone. It would do wonders here. And I think coaster enthusiasts everywhere would actually have this place on their radar. Versus right now, I imagine a lot of people watching this video have probably never heard of this place. It's a shame because it deserves more credit than it gets. It's absolutely a local spot, but I can't imagine a lot of tourists visit here, which is a shame. I mean, give this place like a Skyrocket 2 or something like that. It would make a big difference. But regardless, I still recommend this place. I mean, on the surface, if you're a coaster enthusiast, this place just looks like a credit run. Get your +4 coasters because you're going to be too big to fit on the kiddie coaster, and you move on. But I don't think you should view this place just as that, because the park has so much personality and character. I enjoy myself here way more than I was expecting. So if you find yourself down in Central America and pop into Costa Rica, I think you should check out Parque Diversiones in San Jose. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this place if you've been here, and of course stay tuned for more park reviews here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.